Hi, I'm Steve Good and welcome to my Scroll Saw Workshop. I'm out in the shop tonight to talk about the 9-inch SandFlee portable drum sander. The SandFlee comes in two different models. There's the 18-inch model and the 9-inch model. And the one I'm going to be talking about here tonight and the one that I purchased is a 9-inch model. I purchased the smaller model because I wasn't really sure how useful it was going to be in my shop, and it was considerably cheaper than the 18-inch model. The disadvantage of the smaller model, of course, is you have a smaller width of area that you can actually sand. So with the 18-inch model, you can actually stage different grits of sandpaper across the drum and actually sand through the grits without reloading the paper. With the 9-inch model, I find it easier to just go ahead and reload the paper between the grits. I have 120 grit, 180, and 220, and if I want to get down to a really good finish on the piece, I'll just stage it through those three different grits. It's really easy to add the paper, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. The SandFlee is manufactured here in the United States by a company called RJR Studios. They're very friendly people, nice to work with. I've had a couple conversations with them, and that's going real well. I purchased this machine several months ago, and I've intended to do this review for quite some time. But to be honest with you, the SandFlee is kind of a unique tool, and I just never could get a good feel for the machine to feel comfortable doing a review. Now, I've used it a lot more lately, and the more I use it, the more I like it. It still has some issues that I still struggle with a little bit, and I'll show you that as I go through it. But all in all, it's a pretty good tool, and something that I use almost daily now here in my shop. Now we'll go ahead and take a closer look at the SandFlee, and you can see it's a flatbed sander. It has a 9-inch drum with a hook and loop type of sandpaper. It has a dust collection port on the left side, a micro adjuster knob right here, on-off switch in the front, and over here on the other side, which I'll show you in a few minutes, is the power takeoff for different accessories such as a sanding drum or maybe a flexible drive shaft type arrangement. The top is zinc coated steel, very heavy duty. It raises up just like this to give you access to the drum and the area behind the drum where you can store sandpaper and tools. It has a 1/3 horsepower, 1700 RPM, 115 volt AC motor. It's belt driven to the drum. The drum is CNC made to very tight specs, so it's very flat and does a very good job of keeping the sandpaper exactly where you want it. The adjustment for the SandFlee is pretty critical. I want to show you that in a couple minutes, and I also want to show you my arrangement that I set up with the shop vac to keep the dust out. So with that, I'm going to zoom in here, and the next thing I want to do is show you the adjustment, because that's very important. For the SandFlee to function correctly, it's very important that we get the height of this drum set in relation to the top of the table very, very close to where it needs to be. What you're wanting to do is set the height of this drum to where the only thing sitting above the top of the table is the actual grit of the paper. We don't want the paper backing or the cloth backing of the sandpaper to be higher than the table. We obviously don't want the drum to be higher than the table. The reason that's so important is because as we pass our piece across the drum, we only want the grit of the sandpaper contacting the wood that we're pushing over it. If you get it higher than that, you're going to have kickback, and you're going to have scalloping of the wood as you push it across. And of all the emails I've got about the SandFlee, the one thing I hear the most is that people are afraid that it's going to leave scallops because it's a single drum as opposed to a drum on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to show you that adjustment now and how to get it just right. On the front of the SandFlee, we've got a micro adjustment knob, and we've got two locking thumb screws here that lets you raise and lower the adjustable front plate. as you raise this plate, it raises the top of the table. So with it raised all the way up, you can see there's a big gap right here between the piece and the drum. So what we want to do to adjust that is loosen the 2 thumb screws. We want to raise the table up until the wood is not contacting the drum at all. You want a nice little gap here. Okay? Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn the machine on and leave the wood here over the top of the drum. We're going to adjust the micro adjusting knob slowly counterclockwise to bring the table down, and just as the grid of the paper starts to hit this piece of MDF, the MDF will start to scoot this way as it drives it off. That's where we want to stop. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I've got this SandFlee hooked up to my vacuum, so it's going to get a little noisy here, but you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay, my shop vac set on a timer where the shop vac actually runs for 5 seconds after I turn off the power to the sander, and I'll show you that arrangement also here in a few minutes. So what I just did is I raised the table up above the height of the drum. I slowly lowered the table just until it kicked this piece of MDF back off of the drum. Now what you want to do is, once you get that done, you want to make sure that if you lay a piece of flat wood over the drum, you don't want it to teeter-totter any at all. If it is, the drum's too high. Also, what you can do is bring the piece of wood over to the edge, and you don't really want it to catch the edge of the sandpaper, or if it does, just very little. Now on this end I'm not catching it all, and on this end I'm catching just a little bit. But you do want, as you rub the piece of wood along the length of the drum, you want to hear it sanding all the way across. Now, on the model that I have, for some reason, this end of the drum is just ever so slightly higher than this end. So I generally have to come back in and loosen just the 1 thumb screw and just give it a little bit of fine adjustment on one end. That's not very hard to do, but it is a little bothersome.